engineering.
Well, why don't we hear from some folks in the audience, and then after that, after that's done, we will have follow-up questions on the part of the council. On our discussion, I certainly want to hear from as many people who want to come and speak. However, make sure that you're reasonably brief, because you don't want to get in the way of someone else not having the time, and try not to be too repetitive. I know there's a lot of passion, so we do want to hear from you. Why don't I just start off by asking the folks on the list to come up first, and we'll go from there. Ms. Downey, would you come forward and again, just state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Downey, and I live at 9508 West 51st Street. I am a 40-year resident almost. My husband and I, my ex-husband and I, raised our children in the city, and they were on the Merriam swim team. I want to explain the value of the swim team for me personally. I taught my children to swim. I moved into this community. We went to the pool, and then they got on the swim team. And that is how I met people in our city, like the Rose. I could go on, tons of people. I met Kim that way. It is a value that is not placed enough to people who were involved in it. I understand there was only 50 people now. It used to be like 150. Okay, times change. But it became a very important part of our lives, and it had really substance to it. And my children became very proficient swimmers on it. My son was a 4-time state Kansas diving champion, went to Shimerson North. My daughter was a very good synchronized swimmer, nationally ranked, both of them. She ended up being University of Minnesota head synchronized swimming coach. My son currently is the University of Kansas head diving coach. Many great athletes came out of this pool, and there's just a few. Robert Ayers is one, like you mentioned. He was the manager of the pool, super nice guy, lived across the street. My point is, I'm not bragging when I say these are facts, okay? There's a lot that was learned there. There's a lot of community. More than all of my children's achievements, I felt a sense of community. Because of that pool, I would have never met other people. And it was awesome. Okay, so we go from there. My concern when I look at this pool too, is they want to eliminate a high pool. I was at the old pool. Then they built this wonderful new pool for us. And I remember we'd walk up and watch it. We're so excited. And, you know, it was a big deal. You know, so then we always had a 3-meter and 2 1-meters. Okay, now we're going to decrease this thing, and I understand, and I'll be honest with you, if I had known it was going to be like this, I would have never encouraged so many people to vote for it. I am on the Parks Board. I would not have voted for this. I am upset about it. The library was never part of that plan. That got slipped in. We're giving up valuable space in our community for that. I understand it's great to have a library and all that, but we may have a spot there. Johns County is one of the most wealthiest counties in the Kansas and in the nation. So, you know, why are we accommodating the library system? Okay, that's land we're giving it. We have box stores all around us now, guys. I see the progress that's gone on in Merriam. You can look at it different ways. Okay, but I've been going to the pool. My ex-husband and I built this beautiful pool in our backyard 12 years ago. So I hadn't been going. Right? I had this awesome 50-yard pool in my backyard. Then I thought, you know, I'm going to go enjoy this before it's destroyed. It's gone. It's a history. So I've been going up there. And I'm swimming laps. I'm an athlete. And I've been to natatoriums all across this country. Okay? You know, you're losing, but you're not realizing it's not just the swim team, guys. You're losing a big space. This is dangerous. I'm going to leave this. I brought some things. One by the CDC on drowning rates. And there's also an article, thing by the city of Merriam actually did it, on how our demographics are going to change in this community in the next 20 to 30 years. When I went up the other day, I thought, this is awesome. We are more ethnically diverse. I'm a very liberal, open person. I've lived in South Park. I love it. I think we should all become more that way. But the sad thing is a lot of kids can't afford swim lessons, okay? They can't. I grew up in 114 kids. You know, my brothers and sisters pitched us in the pool. The older ones, we learned to swim. That's how I learned to swim. You know, the drowning rates are very high. Now, we're going to get this puny little outdoor pool, okay? In my opinion. No 3-meter, which is fun to jump off, and it's also, I mean, we've had it. We've always had a history of a 3-meter in this pool. So we're going to reduce this baby down, not have a separate baby pool, which is very dangerous, by the way. There's a huge safety issue here that's not being looked at, okay? It's too crowded. Go up to the pool. I tell you, go up this weekend. It's hotter than Hades out there. Look at that. Look how many people are crammed in there. Now, as a lifeguard, and I was one, that's a dangerous situation. And that's a liability for this city. And that's not something that's being thought about. And the fact that, flip it, figure it out. It's not too late. It's not poured in concrete yet. And it really is not a good thing for the future if later on we don't have a safe outdoor pool. And I get the inside pool. People want all these fun and amenities and all this stuff. But it's a pool. They need to learn to swim. God help us, if you can teach a child to swim, and I teach children to swim, you've given them a gift for life. And that's my big comment. And also, by the way, everybody needs to know, the sad thing that our in-house is closing at the end of the month. So, there you have it. That's my spiel. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Next, John Steve. Mr. Steve. Your name and address, please.
My name is John Steve. I live at 9613 West 51st Street. Lived there for a little over 25 years, a Merriam resident. Oh, for 36 or so years. This pool certainly does need to be addressed. 25 meters is not near long enough. It's not for safe. It is a safety issue and a possible liability issue. One thing that comes to mind is that are we going to have a limit of how many can safely be in the pool? I know Ms. Stein said this, but is there a limit? Are we going to invite other cities to join the pool? The answer is yes. It will be open to other communities. It's going to cause a safety issue. A lot of features that are in the old pool will be eliminated from what I heard, and it's just not feasible. I was a scoutmaster for a little over 17 years, and one thing that always bothered me is that pools were never available for getting a BSA merit badge in swimming. Now, this was important because it was an opportunity that boys would learn how to swim. The nearest pools that would accept us was in Independence or Blue Springs, which I don't think it's right that we would have to do that. This wasn't taken into consideration at all. So it seems like the entire indoor pool is devoted to a water playground. It's not devoted to older children or adults. Hearing about the survey, it represented about 4% of the people in Merriam, and I don't know if the survey asked things such as, have you ever been to the pool? Have you been on the swim team? Are your children or grandchildren involved? And these are things that need to be addressed. And I know time is money on this, but I don't think a lot of thought was given. Being a landscape architect, having my own business for 30 years, I know that there is a lot of usable space, and they say that it is out of budget, but it isn't. I know that this can be designed and be done in a timely manner to meet budget. Thank you very much for listening.
Velma?
My name is Velma Fowler. I'm at 9921 West 65th Drive in Merriam. Been a resident here for over 50 years, and I do have something I want to show you guys if I can approach. This is a picture of me and my sister and my brother. First and last time you'll ever see me in a bikini. And that's when, that was taken in 1968 when we were members of the pool. I lived 2 doors down from the Merriam pool when we came here to Merriam. So I've been there for all these years and I've enjoyed it. I am also on the park board. I was on the steering committee and I was on the selection committee. I would not have voted yes for any of this had I known at the time that the 50-meter outdoor pool would be reduced in half, by half the size. I'm opposed to it for many different reasons. One is I disagree that we don't have a separate body of water for the children in the baby pool. And I understand you guys are going to have it indoors. I'm an outdoor person, so I'm talking specifically about being outdoors. I believe the pool will be crowded, that's already been mentioned. The pool for me is something that you can grow into. You start at one area and you can move all the way up. Right now, at a 50-meter pool, you can actually go out there and play catch. I want the ball, just play catch with your kid. My kid's 20 years old. That's something we can still do today. We play Marco Polo in the pool. There's space. We teach a 7-year-old, my sister's grandson. We're learning how to do handstands in the pool. We actually can go to the 6-foot area and dive. We can teach him how to dive and to swim. None of that's going to happen with this puny pool, okay? I understand that we are running out of time. I don't understand why a committee would have had a feedback time frame on July 30th, and then decisions would have had to been made on August 1st. That's not, I think, enough time for anybody. I can't believe we're this far through the process, and we're just now finding out at the end of June, at the first public meeting for the Aquatic Center, that it's going to be reduced in size. I voted yes for the facilities. I voted yes for an investment in our future. I don't believe that this is it, at least for the outdoor side. I want to be able to take my grandkids up there to the baby pool. I want to get them in there. I want to teach them how to swim. If they so decline to be on a swim team, great. This is not that. If I wanted an indoor play area, there's also places I could go to in Kansas City for that. I don't want the pool to look like Mission Pool. It's a cookie cutter approach. I thought we were supposed to differentiate ourselves here in Merriam. I remember the time when, and you guys probably do too, when you're sitting at the pool and looking up on that bluff, and there were homes there at one point in time. I actually went to Crestview Elementary with a lot of those kids in those homes. Those homes were blighted. Then we had the village come in. Well, that was a flop for everybody. Now I look up and I see IKEA. I feel like I'm in a little bubble. I've gotten used to it. Now I'm going to look up, and on one side of the road, I've got Hobby Lobby and a parking lot. On the other side, I'm going to see a parking structure that was not part of the plan. I'm going to look up and see the library that usually was just right up the street. And I feel like it's an encroachment of park space. We're landlocked, a city, so I know we can only do so much, but I don't want another parking or a car lot on 63rd Street where the Antioch Library is right now. So, like everybody else has said, I would not have voted for this. I would have not been a proponent for this had I known that the outdoor pool would be reduced. I was part of the surveys. I love the fact that we could pick the amenities we wanted, but there was no downside. There was nothing that said, if you choose this, here is what you would be giving up. So I think that was a misconception. I think that's why you're hearing about this now from the public, because everybody's in shock. That we've got the space of a 50-meter pool now, and we just spent $30 million for the next 10 years to, come up with some money, and we're making it smaller. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Tina? I'll let you.
Cheatham.
That would have been what I guessed.
Hi, I'm Tina Cheatham, and I live at 5548 Merriam in Merriam, Kansas. Lived there for over 50 years. And I'm a sister. And I've been going to the pool equally as long. And my daughter taught her how to swim. My grandkids go. Both my boys are...
I'm sorry, can you speak a little louder?
Both of my grandsons are learning to swim in it. I don't agree with what's happening. I don't. You're taken away from us. And that is not what I thought was going to happen at all. There's so many indoor pools that you read about and you get bad reviews. I don't take any of my kids, nor have I ever taken any of my kids to indoor pools, because they're not clean. That's why. Merriam has always been safe. It's a safe pool, it's a clean pool, it's a friendly pool. I just don't like the idea of it being taken away and getting smaller. Didn't know anything about a library or a parking garage or anything like that, so I feel like I was misled. And I hope that perhaps
with everything that's been said tonight and everything that's been presented, that perhaps a revote is in order. So everybody knows exactly what they're voting for. And that's about all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Judy? I'm not starting the meeting, but
Pardon me?
you're going to have to help me on the last name.
Yes, my name is Judy Brownwell, and I live at 917 South 53rd Terrace in Kansas City, Kansas. My daughter wanted to start swimming and diving, so when she was younger, so we come to Merriam. And I had my own pool, but she wanted to come there. So we filled it in here 15, 20 years ago. And I've been coming to Merriam ever since then. There's 6 of us ladies that come to this pool. Out of those 6, 4 of us live in Wyandotte County. 3 of us live in Turner, the other one lives a little further on. This year, not only did I get my pass, I also bought my daughter and her family a pass, and she lives in Baser, so she comes in. Now, all of us ladies that come, I found out they're not going to have a concession stand. Every time I go to this pool, I eat at the pool. And when I take my grandkids, if you know anything about grandkids, it costs me almost $20, and I pay it. And then I'm also worried, I mean, I know what I live, and I don't have anything to say about what goes on out here, because I'm not a taxpayer. But I will tell you, what are you going to do if you have a parking lot up on the hill? How are handicapped people going to get down there and get back up again? They're going to push their walkers down like me, and have to push them back up the hill? Did anybody think about that? And then I hear that we're going to have a pool about this big, and when it's crowded, no, there's not going to be room. I'm very disappointed that what they give, and of course I don't have any room to complain. I'm just complaining about not having enough room to swim and enjoy myself, and the concession. I can't believe they cut the concession out. And I also I always talk to people at the pool, and a lot of them aren't even living in Merriam. They don't even live in Merriam. Some of them are in Prairie Village, some of them are over in Park, and like me. And I cannot believe that they don't have a bigger swim team. They don't get out and advertise it. They should be sending flyers out in May. Come to our pool. Everybody in Merriam should be getting a flyer. If you've got grandkids, bring them up. Join our swim team. If you've got kids, bring them up. And when I daughter swam, there was 127 kids swimming in that pool. And now there's 50. And that doesn't say much for the people who try to go out and promote it. They don't promote it at all. They don't promote that pool for the swim team. But like I said, I'll still keep coming, but I'm worried about walking up a hill with my walker and walking down again. And I don't think that's feasible for me or for anybody else who's older and got a lot of arthritis problems. Thank you very much.
Carrie?
Hi, my name is Carrie Duff, and I actually live in Overland Park, but do you need my address? 5806 Newton. I actually am just here because my family has been members of the Merriam Pool for 9 years. And we actually decided to come because I had another mom who also lived in Overland Park say, oh, you need to go there. And I went, and the layout for that pool, because I have 4 children, was amazing. When they're all older now, but when I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old and a 8-year-old, I felt like it was easy to have my kids there where they could all play. I could be in the baby pool. My other kids could be in the baby pool because it was deep enough that it was not just like a wading pool. And then as they got bigger, they could go to the slides and be in the big pool. And I feel like all of this is about to just go by the wayside. And, you know, we joined before the Super Pass was even an option. And so I could have gone to all the Overland Park pools, but I chose Merriam because of the layout and because of the just functionality for our family. And I know I've heard that from other parents and other moms, just that baby pool makes it feasible to go with multiple kids. Mission is a nightmare with the way they have their big zero entry with this huge play structure in the middle. You can really keep track of one child safely in there. And I will say that their 25-meter pool is kind of a nightmare because there's not room to play between the diving boards and the little, it's really crowded. So I just worry that this is being pushed through really fast, and then I also do have kids who've swam on the dive team for 6 years now, and it has become a huge part of our family, and I actually agree with a lot of what was said. One, I have really great, strong swimmers now, and two, that I don't feel like it's promoted as it was back years ago. As a matter of fact, last night I Googled and I found the 2010 Merriam, I actually have it in my purse if you want to see it, but just, it kind of was like, really, I felt like the way it was worded and the way it talked about the swim team was far more exciting and inviting than anything I've seen written about it in recent years. But I know that my kids, even my oldest doesn't swim anymore, but on dive meets and swim meets, you will find her intermixing with all of those people that she's, you know, made friends with over the years and that our family has made bonds with. So, I mean, I would echo a lot of what has been said, and obviously I don't have a voting right, but, you know, when I heard about all this, I was super excited, and then I see this on paper, and we just had a 25-meter dive, or a swim meet, I will say, at Roland Park last week, and it was a nightmare because you have the swimmers coming back in, you've got all the kids on deck ready to go, and you've got timers, and as a parent, you can't even really watch your kid come in. So I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
That's the last name. Do you have anyone else who wishes to come forward? Name and address, please.
Melinda Duckworth, 8209 West 58th Street, Merriam. And I am also on the design committee. So Anna reached out to me on June 25th after my conversation with her on June 21st at the open house to invite me to that committee. And I do represent a swim parent. I will say I don't feel like, as far as expertise being shared with the committee, that we've really gotten to that point. Because tonight, during our design committee meeting, what I heard was, we don't have the money, we don't have the space. I know deck space was one of the concerns. I'll tell you, as a parent that has attended 5 years worth of swim meets, I think there's space. If you look at right now, this design that's up there right now, you are cramming the audience into a 25-meter area. So expand that out to 50 meters, and you spread out the families, you spread out the parents. You still need areas for the swim teams to actually get together, keep their swimmers together as well. But out of our competitions this year, we've only had one 25-meter pool that we've swam at. Our longest meet was 2.5 hours at a 50-meter pool. So imagine feeding your child dinner at 9 o'clock at night after they got done swimming, 2.5 hours. So I think we have to take that into consideration. What I keep hearing over and over again is space and money. Let's take a look at the true 25-meter versus 50-meter. I'll touch on a couple of other things around the swim team, and that is, somebody asked about the expertise for a competitive team. I'm not the subject matter expert by any means. I'm the participant parent. But I can say we have really good coaches that we can consult with, that I'm sure would be happy if you reached out to them. They could give some insight. It does impact practice. When kids are practicing, you put multiple kids in one lane and they're swimming together. So imagine putting 5 or 6 kids into one lane and they're now going 25 meters instead of 50 meters. So they're practically on top of each other while they're doing their laps each morning for practice, which definitely opens up a safety hazard. And then you think of a 6-meter or a 25-meter 6-lane pool for a meet. You're taking all of the teams that are there to compete, and they're all going to be in the water at the same time for warm-ups. So each community would get a couple of lanes, so you're putting even more swimmers in. So for us, if we would have, let's say, 25 competitive swimmers, we're going to put all of those swimmers in 2 lanes to do their warm-ups. And then from an attendance standpoint, I definitely think there's more that we can do to communicate and promote that. The swim team seems to be on the upward trend as far as gaining participation. But back to those coaches, this really is a sense of community. So it's a chance to get to know other people. I moved to Merriam in 2011, was not from the area, and we really used the pool to meet people, meet our neighbors, get to know people. But the coaches are not only teaching our kids the swim skills, they're teaching them responsibility, how to be a good sport, leadership. Look at the areas of opportunity that the city currently offers. Do we have baseball teams? Do we have basketball programs? This is one area and one offering that the city currently has to involve our kids, involve the community. And then from not even thinking of the swim team experience, but I'll just say, if you look at this pool, so you're looking at the space on the 25-meter lanes, take out the space for the diving boards, right? Because you can't hang out there while people are diving in. And then put the rest of the population who attends the pool into that smaller space. You're going to be crowded. It's not going to be a great user experience. So hopefully you guys can take that into consideration. I think it was David that pointed out on the other slide, this is similar to that middle section of our current pool. So if you wanted a good visual, go and make sure that the entire audience in attendance that day was just in the 6-foot section, but only a portion of the 6-foot section, because part of it would be for diving boards. So thank you for your consideration.
Could I ask a question? I'm a visual kind of guy,
Yeah.
and I know what a meter is. I taught science. Can you lay out from that wall going that way what 25 meters would be?
Oh, a meter is about a yard.
No, it's 39 inches.
30.
I'd like to visualize it from there to there and tell us where it would end down that way. Is the door, or is it further this way? Because you've been in a lot of 25-meter pools.
I have, I would say it's probably the wall to the door.
The
Maybe
glass
the,
door,
like
the
the,
wooden
no,
door?
like the brown door to door, like wall to like the brown door.
Okay, so how much of that would be used for the diver? Where you're standing?
That's a great question. Actually, I asked Anna that exact same thing, because I think I'm a numbers person, and so I like to be able to visually represent what is our square footage now, and what's the square footage going to be of the usable space of the new pool. And we're not there yet. I guess a normal lane is 8 feet wide.
Okay, and what would be this distance?
This is 40 feet.
So
40 feet.
this would be 5 lanes
5 lanes. Okay.
at 8 foot each, or 8 feet.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Tony Duckworth, 8209 West 58th Street. Probably assume I am Melinda's husband. But as these designs were laid out, and the representative was doing a nice job kind of explaining kind of what we were looking at and everything like that, I had a few questions that kind of came into mind, especially when you guys started to ask questions about, you know, how this pool is going to affect usability and everything like that. I know that the indoor pool right now is slated to have 4 25-meter lanes. That way people can get their laps in and everything like that. I wasn't sure if they were planning on using anything like, you know, like for lessons and stuff like that, how to start off starting blocks, and that type of thing, just so people get familiar with it, experience with it, and also it'd be a good learning tool for our swimmers in the summer. Right now, North does a great swim clinic where they invite schools that all filter into North to go to their pool and to learn from their head coach about the swimming basics of what strokes, how to do them properly, diving in off of a starting block. As of right now, it's slated to be 3.5 feet deep. I don't know what regulation is, if it's 3.5 or 4 foot deep in order to have starting blocks. But that'd be a good, segue into come, learn the basics. Oh great, you're doing wonderful. Have you thought about swim team? That'd be a great outreach. I know that my daughter really enjoys that type of thing. So that was one thing that popped in my head when I saw the indoor. Is there a usability for starting blocks to teach kids? The outside, kind of like what Melinda was saying, without beating a dead horse, is the amount of space that you would have to be usable is not not half of that space. It's really like a third of that space for people to be able to just play and have fun in that water. But then you also have to figure, if you're going to have 1 or 2 open lap lanes out there while people are diving off, there's no room for that drop-in slide. There's also reducing that third of a pool length down even further for 80 to 100, 200 people that are in attendance to the pool. I understand that you can use either the indoor pool or the outdoor pool, but my personal opinion is if the sun's shining, I want to be outside. I know other people might want to just go in the lazy river and stuff, that's fine, but are we going to have people going inside, outside, outside? Then you got to talk about flooring, because everybody knows if you go to a hotel with tile, people slip, people fall because people are sopping wet going from one pool to the next pool or the hot tub or whatever. So that's something really we need to think about is space for that drop-in slide that she was talking about, and usability of lanes for lap lanes and the amount of play area people have. The other thing is I don't know if it's possible. I don't know how the boards are. Is there a way to cut maybe a few $100s to reuse the boards, the diving boards, instead of buying brand new? They're in good shape. I don't think I've heard anybody complain on the dive team or anything like that, oh, these boards are horrible. Would that be a possibility to kind of shave part of the cost so you don't have to incur that cost?
They're really old.
Okay, they're really old? Okay. I personally do not use the diving board. Would not look pretty. And then also, I am an active parent in swim meets and everything like that. When we've had other swim meets, and I should have really printed them out, but I've taken pictures like of the Roland Park pool where it was 25 meters, and each lane has 2 timers, plus you have the swimmer, plus you have 2 to 3 other swimmers lined up behind that lane in order for them to be ready for the next race. It was a cluster. I was having a hard time figuring out, is my daughter up? Is she not? Because you have to figure there's 2 adults, 1 on each side, plus the swimmer. It's like, where is my kid? With the 50 meter, you kind of reduce that because the timer's on the one end and the swimmer's on the other, and you can clearly see, Johnny's down there, or my daughter Taylor's down there. It's easier to see. The 2 other things I'll just touch on real quick is deck space. She was talking about the 25 meter, and if we went to 50 meter, we wouldn't have enough deck space. How is that dictated? Is that just something in perceived space? I've got pictures, and I know from swim teams, the parents line up on the one half, and on the other half you have a few coaches, or on the other side you have a few coaches. From what I can tell, there'd be plenty of space for the parents and the teams to stretch out to a 50-meter pool. And then one last thing is, this year we lost a few swimmers just for the simple fact that we don't know what's going to happen next year with our swim team. Everybody asks me, I don't know. Oh, is your daughter going to go swimming next year? Yeah, she'll be part of some team. I really like it if it was Merriam Dolphins, since she's already been with the team for 5 years, knows the coaches, knows the kids. It'd be great. If we have to choose what team we're a part of and not be on Merriam Dolphins, that's a real hard choice. She's young, she's 13. Getting her to and from is really difficult with both parents working, not gonna lie. It's really hard, especially when they start at 8 o'clock in the morning. If I had to take my kid to, Olathe or Overland Park or someplace she couldn't just ride her bike to, I don't know how I do it. So that's something to think about. All right? Thank you for your time.
Hey guys, first just thanks for hearing all of us. I will be very quick. Jamie McCarthy at 5831 Woodward. I have been in the Merriam community for 5 years. We've lived here about 5 years. First, I don't know if any of you have even been to a swim meet or if you've taken the time to come. I think the last swim meet that we have this season is Wednesday, and it's all city. It's early, 7:30 until 11:15. It's at the Prairie Village Pool. But for any of you who want to get an idea of what picture they've been trying to paint for you as far as like timers and the 50 meter versus the 25 and when they get out of the pool versus having the timers there and space,
I would just like to invite you guys to come and see what happens and how to kind of view the square footage and all that. I think it would help kind of put a little bit of a picture to it. Mainly, I wanted to just highlight a couple of things for me that have become really important in the last month when I've tried to think about what's going to change. When I became a mom and my kids were teeny tiny, what became vital to me was how quickly that they move. So what became extremely important at a pool was, in their differentiation of age, how can I keep an eye on them all and make sure that they're all safe? So the issue that I see with some of these layouts, as much as I don't have a problem with the indoor-outdoor thing, but as a mother, I'm also a nurse in the community, and I talk to so many people at the pool, and other moms, and we love the fact that as far as the outdoor component of this pool as it is, and as it has been, the upper layout where the younger children are, and the fact that it has the fence line, and it's elevated just a little bit. You can keep your little ones up there and watch them carefully, and then as your other children, or if you have other multiple children, as they get older and they go to the slides, you can still watch them safely and see through the fence line, and then you can also watch them from the diving boards. And I've been to other pools, Leawood, Roland Park, Prairie Village. There's so much going on in different areas, and it's very difficult to watch them. So I love the line of sight that occurs at the Merriam pool and how it's all laid out very clearly. What else was I going to say? The last thing I was just going to say is about this particular idea, the indoor-outdoor thing. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, the space thing, I'm agreeing with everything that Melinda said. But as a parent, even with different aged kids, no matter how old your kids are, A, you want to go outside when you go to the pool. But B, even if some of my kids are going to want to go inside and play on the stuff that's inside, and some of them are going to want to come outside, and how am I going to keep an eye on everybody? I mean, it just doesn't seem like a feasible kind of pool that I'm going to be wanting to spend a lot of time at, especially as a mom when I want to go to the pool with a friend and her kids, and even go to the community center, be a part of the community, whether I'm going with my kids or I'm going to be a part of, like, you know, exercise or do something there, you know, at the actual center that has the other things that you guys are working so hard to actually put together. I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like that as a mom, it would be really hard to have that. So, thanks.
Anyone else?
Luckily, when I moved here years ago, they didn't have to do all this with surveys and all this stuff. The council just decided, let's build an awesome pool here, okay? I love how they're just going to eliminate springboard diving. No 3-meter, always had one, got to get rid of it. But we can accommodate the library, we can do all these other things. There's still an option. It is not poured in concrete. These mothers made some very good points, okay? This is a huge safety issue. You get this once, guys, you got to do it right. I can't do this decision. It's up to you. And I feel like they're pushing an agenda, and I felt this on the Parks Board, and I do not really like it. And I'm being quite blunt. I thought, you know, Susie, sometimes I leave the Park Board meeting and I'm frustrated.
I don't feel like I'm being heard, I'm not being, maybe heard, but I'm not being listened to. My point is, there's a reason you're put into a position, and I decided to come here and today and vocally express how I feel. Please, really look at this. I'll be 90 years old in 30 years, okay? I'm talking about future generations of Merriam residents who are gonna have fun in this pool. If you build something that doesn't function right, what have you gained? You know, seriously. So this needs to really, really be looked at. And you know what? I understand construction. X and I own a commercial concrete construction company. I was a swim coach for this team, okay? I understand a lot of this. Let's really look at this. Things can be changed. It's still in the design. Don't ramrod it through. Think this through, because this will impact the city of Merriam's for a long, long time. Look how lucky. I just thought to myself, Suzie, you are here in the golden era. Be thankful. My children got to benefit of that wonderful huge pool down there. Okay, so let's get out there and do this right, please. Thank you.